High in the mist-shrouded mountains, where clouds brushed the peaks like gentle sheep, lived a giant named Orin. His home was carved into the tallest cliff, vast echoing chambers where even his own footsteps sounded lonely. Orin's world was one of immense scale. Towering trees were mere twigs in his hand. Boulders were pebbles he kicked aside, yet this grandeur brought him no joy. His heart felt as hollow and cavernous as the great halls he wandered, yearning for connection in a world seemingly built for someone smaller, someone unseen. He watched eagles soar, envying their freedom and purpose, while his own days stretched long and empty. One crisp autumn morning, while carefully stepping through the valley far below his home to avoid crushing the miniature forests, Orin noticed a discarded wooden box nestled amongst brilliantly colored fallen leaves. It was impossibly small, like a pebble smoothed by a stream. Intrigued, he knelt with earth-trembling care, his breath stirring the leaves into a frantic dance with fingers as thick as ancient tree trunks. But surprising gentleness, he plucked the box from the ground. Inside, nestled in neat rows, were tiny, exquisite squares of paper, each adorned with intricate pictures. Soaring birds, strange flowers, faces of people from distant lands. He held one close to his enormous eye, utterly captivated by the miniature world captured on its surface. It was a stamp album, forgotten by a small traveler. Orin carried the tiny treasure home, as if cradling a sleeping sparrow. In his vast, dim hall, he sat by the light of a cave opening, a single shaft of sunlight illuminating his discovery. He found an old, forgotten jeweler's loupe, its lens as big as a wagon wheel to a human, and peered through it. Suddenly, the tiny stamps exploded into life. He saw the delicate brushstrokes on a painted butterfly, the intricate rigging of a sailing ship no bigger than his fingernail, the proud gaze of a king on a stamp smaller than a snowflake. Hours melted away as he traveled the world through these minuscule windows, a profound quiet settling over him. Different from loneliness, it was the quiet of deep fascination. The giant's collection began to grow, not by force, but through quiet seeking. He would scour the forest paths near where humans sometimes walked, his eyes sharper than any hawk's for the glint of a lost envelope. He found stamps depicting oceans he'd never seen, mountains smaller than his toe, and colorful birds whose songs he could only imagine. He mounted them carefully on enormous sheets of cured bark using sticky pine resin. His vast table became a mosaic of the world's smallest wonders. One day, while meticulously examining a new find, a vibrant stamp showing a sunflower field, he sensed a presence looking down. He saw a small boy, no bigger than his thumb, staring up in awe. Not at Orin, but at the stamp in the giant's hand. "You found my papa's favorite," the boy whispered, his voice a tiny chime in the vastness. "The Sunflower King stamp. He lost it months ago." Orin, heart pounding like a distant drum, lowered his hand slowly, palm open, the stamp resting like a jewel in the center. The boy, Tomas, scrambled onto the giant's palm without fear. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Orin rumbled, his voice softened to a gentle breeze. Tomas nodded, his eyes wide. "Papa said it came from a land where the sun always shines." That afternoon, the giant and the boy sat together, Orin holding the stamp steady while Tomas described the pictures on others, bridging the impossible gap between their worlds with whispered stories of distant places. A deep friendship blossomed between the mountain giant and the valley boy. Tomas became Orin's guide to the human world depicted on the stamps, explaining festivals, animals, and far-off cities. He brought discarded envelopes, new treasures for the collection. Orin, in turn, shared tales of the high mountain winds, the ancient stones, and the stars seen from his cliff. He crafted a special shelf just within reach of the valley path where Tomas could leave new finds or take letters Orin carefully wrote to stamp traders in distant towns, using tiny, precise script. The giant's lonely halls now echoed with the remembered sound of Tomas's Laughter and the shared excitement of discovery, his enormous heart felt comfortably full then. A shadow fell over Orin's newfound joy, his most prized stamp, a rare, shimmering blue one showing a mythical ice bird. Gifted by a trader in exchange for a flawless quartz crystal Orin had found. Vanished, he searched his vast hall with growing despair, his movements stirring dust storms. Had it blown away? Had he misplaced it? The loss felt immense, a hole torn in his carefully curated world of tiny beauty. He sat hunched by his table, the magnificent icebird's absence a physical ache. A reminder of how fragile his happiness felt. The familiar chill of loneliness threatened to creep back into the echoing chamber. Colder than any mountain wind. 2 days later, a familiar, small voice called from the valley path. Orin. Look. Tomas stood there, breathless, holding something that sparkled like captured sky in the sunlight. It was the icebird stamp. Slightly crumpled, but intact, it blew down the mountain. I found it caught in a berry bush. Relief, warm and profound, flooded the giant gently, ever so gently. He took the tiny, precious square. Thank you, little friend, Orin murmured, his voice thick with emotion that night, as moonlight streamed into his hall. Orin sat by his collection. He held not the stamp, but a perfectly carved, miniature wooden sparrow Tomas had brought him, surrounded by his tiny, vibrant worlds and the memory of a small boy's kindness. Orin smiled. He realized true giants weren't measured by their height, but by the size of the joy they found and shared in the smallest, most beautiful things. The vast mountain felt like home.